Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the McIntosh County Board of Education's work session for October 4th, 2021. Who would please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're very thankful for this day and for your Son, Jesus Christ. We're also very thankful for the school system, the staff, the educators, and what they mean to this community. We're also thankful, Father, and ask your continued guidance and your blessings on the continued COVID maintenance for our children, our teachers, and staff. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3, citizens address the board. I have one, Ms. Dixon, signed in. Okay. And I'll just remind real quickly, just not to mention any students, name, staff, and then we have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I came last month to address the board regarding the attendance for my granddaughter. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update as to where we were as of this point. At the end of the meeting last month, myself and my daughter met with the superintendent and the principal, and we were told that based on several things that my granddaughter was not allowed to attend McIntosh County schools. So that was based on her behavior, which we were told that she had in 5 years, she had 11 incidences, but none of them were ISS, none of them were OSS. As far as I know, maybe 2 were ISS, but we were never called or informed as to any negative incidences regarding her. I was also told that given the policy stating that my granddaughter could only attend the school if she resided with me, which she did at the time. And however, I then had to sign a grandparents form, which I did. And then we were told that we needed to sign a affidavit verifying that my daughter also lived with me. So not only did I had to verify that my granddaughter did, I had to verify that my daughter lived with me. So we were told that we needed to have an affidavit signed and notarized along with a change of address or some mail. Mind you, she had only moved in with me several weeks prior to that, so we had not did any of that. After we left here, both my granddaughter and my daughter tested positive for COVID. So the affidavit was pretty difficult to come by as she had to be in the presence of somebody to get signed. So that delayed it for about 14 days. She was contacted by the principal and was told that she could to contact him if we wanted to pursue my granddaughter attending school. At that time, I called him and I asked, I said, well, being that she is now COVID positive, is she suspended or can she get work while she's out of school? What's the issue with her being out of school? So we were told that she could not attend school that whole week, even before we found out she was COVID positive. I'm sorry, this is difficult for me. After that, I was told that she was withdrawn from school, and she was also suspended at the same time, which kind of confused me because I don't know how you withdraw somebody from school and then suspend them at the same time. I didn't understand that, but that was their decision, so we went based on their decision. I feel that she was treated unfairly. When the issue first came up and it was told to the superintendent, I felt like his decision was already made regarding her attendance in school. The issue came up based on some teachers saying that her mom lived in Brunswick and she was going to school here. So that was based on hearsay. When we were asked to prove that, we were going to prove that, but then it came up with, based on her behavior, she cannot attend school here. Had it not been her behavior, then this would have never come up. So I'm not sure as to, and this was prior to the fight that happened on that Friday. I'm not sure exactly how you base the behavior on just really putting somebody out of school is what what we were told. So I don't understand that. So from this point, being that they were COVID positive, I did find a residence for them to live in Brunswick. So we did decide to enroll her in Brunswick School. I am going to be her voice in McIntosh County. And with that being said, I am going to pursue a complaint to the state school superintendent, Mr. Richards' office. And I'm going to ask them for guidance because I felt like my granddaughter was put out of school unfairly. She was mistreated and she was put out unfairly. I am also going to seek an attorney for counsel and find out what I can do as far as rectifying this, because it has cost me a lot of money. It has cost me a lot of my time. And I want to be compensated for that. I have spent several $1,000s to first find them a residence, because I felt like when we left the meeting on that Tuesday, there was no way they were going to let her back in. And I even after the meeting went back to address both principal and superintendent, and I still didn't feel like anything was justified. I felt like we were just kind of giving the boot, is what I really felt like. I felt like McIntosh County School has taught her that if somebody hit you or push you or pull your hair, and if that part is not on video, then you don't have a right to defend yourself. And I felt like that's what she did. There were no witnesses asked. It was just based on a video which captured only the part where she came around the fence and she asked the little girl, "Why did you pull my hair?" And to our knowledge, the young lady was only in ISS. She did not get out of school suspension. So I'm not sure, and she was the instigator of the issue, but none of that was recorded. I will also, if needed, contact WTOC News to have them write up a story as to the treatment that our students receive here in McIntosh County regarding their attendance. And I'll go from that point on. I just feel like I cannot be quiet in this situation. I cannot be quiet with what happened, because I feel like it was just done unfairly. I even asked for her to receive virtual school, being that if we felt like she just needed a break from school, that option was not given to me. The only option that we had was to bring an affidavit verifying that your daughter lives in your house, that she has been there, and that she's getting mail there. And it was nothing about verifying if my granddaughter been there. That kind of went out the window. It was now, you need to verify it or you're lying. That's the way I took it. So I'm addressing the board just to give you guys an update as to my intentions on what I plan to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4 is approval of the work session agenda. Have our agenda items before us. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. McDonald. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hewlett. All those in favor? Okay, there's no one left to oppose, so motion carries 3-0. Turn over Dr. Poulos at this time.
All right, so item number 5, goal area 1, student success. First area there is the October break. As you recall, when we established the new calendars, we added a fall break and a winter break, and so the intent was to make sure we were able to provide an intersession for students as well. So just as a reminder, all 3 of the schools have already looked for students that need to attend those days. So we're moving forward with that, and that just starts this coming Monday. So just as a reminder, okay?
We're not going to do that to kind of make up for the 2 weeks we lost from COVID?
Well, remember, we didn't actually lose the days because they still did virtual during that period of time. But if things were to get to that point, absolutely. I mean, we've got another week that we can use that for compensation purposes to do that. The next item up here is goal area number 2, organizational effectiveness. And as you recall, we went through this and talked about the options with the federal money that came to us. What could we legally use it for? How could we use that for the best interest of the citizens here in McIntosh? And one of the things that Tammy and I got together and just started doing a lot of math, doing a lot of conversations, and we came to the board and said we believe that we could pay off our 2 bonds. So we have the 2014 bond and the 2016 bond that helped pay off the Todd grant. I will tell you that I'm happy to say that our payment was made on the 1st of October. A little over $2 million was used to do that, and that has saved the taxpayers $140,000 in interest. So I believe that's a very positive thing to report out, and as we continue to try to be great stewards of the public's money. Any questions on the bond payments?
That was $2 million of combined with 14 and 16.
That's correct. A little over $2 million total. That maybe about 2.5, if I remember right, something around there.
Okay.
Next area up here is workers' comp deductible. We're looking at options to possibly increase the deductible based on the calculations for the number of times that we actually have a workers' comp claim. We may end up paying out less in total claims at the same time that we get a better rate on the premium. So we're looking at some options, and I appreciate Tammy pulling that. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's would save the system a lot of money, but these little decisions like this add up. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we're in good financial standing right now. But that could end up saving us, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, depending upon how we do this. I also mentioned to everyone that the school nutrition program, they're going to undergo, which technically every 3-year review, but state has extended it to every 5 years. But Ms. Harrison and her entire staff, they're undergoing that currently to review all policies, all accounting, how they produce their food, every day's account of how that's done, our policies, our wellness. And so the official date for an actual back brief is at the end of October, but I just want to give everybody a heads up that we've got people from the state that are coming and looking at everything. That's as a part of that 5-year review. The FTE October count for 2021 will kick off, is it Wednesday? Tomorrow starts tomorrow. So, that review is very important to us because that guides how much money we will receive in QBE funding. So I know that the 2 main people are sitting right back there. That's Mr. McNair and Ms. Lane. They work extremely hard to make sure that we're accounting for everyone and that we put everybody in the right accounting category. Next area up here is Mr. McNair has a status update on disproportionality.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Just wanted to give you a quick update. I know we met in January of this year and we talked a little bit about our status of where we were with our disproportionality. So we're moving into year 3 with that, and we were found disproportionate, and that meant that we had to come up with 15% of the special education budget to address the disproportionality. It started off at about $45,000. When the CARES Act came in and started kicking a little bit more money to us, well, they made us take a proportionate share of that and add to it. So this year, we plan on spending about $55,000 to address disproportionality.
It's not just plan, we have to.
We have to spend the $55,000. So what I did over that period of time is actually spend a lot of time researching programs and things that we could do to address disproportionality in our district. One of the things that I realized, and this is something that happens throughout the state, most school systems have interventions in place to address academic deficits that our kids are having with math and reading. But one of the things that I talk to other directors about and that occurs most often is that how do we address behavior? When kids are acting up in the classroom, when they're disrupting and impacting the learning of others. So again, one of the things that I had to do is decide what do we need to do as a school district to address it? Well, the great thing about the disproportionality, I can target it or I can make it school-wide or system-wide. I did both. I targeted Todd Grant Elementary, which is where a lot of the behaviors and stuff develop before they get to middle and high school. And then I focus mainly on how do we address that. Well, the company that I'm working with, they're called Behavior Management Consultants, and they have offices around the Southeast. And they're going to be here on the 21st to train our teachers at the elementary school. All of our teachers will get this workbook here. It's a workbook that basically is a Tier 1 intervention workbook. In other words, they're going to be addressing a lot of the classroom management issues that occur in the classroom. Again, one of the things I heard from teachers, well, the reason why we don't address behavior is because it's easier to just send them to the office or just deal with them another way. Well, again, what is our job as educators? We're not just supposed to provide a consequence, but we're supposed to provide what? Replacement behaviors, alternative behaviors, or even extinguish the behaviors. This program will allow us to do that, and it will allow teachers to document the behaviors that are occurring in their classroom. The one thing that I did like most about this program is that the researchers or the doctors that came up with it, they looked at 25 characteristic behaviors, and then they ended up saying, from our research, what we've discovered is that there are really 7 areas that kids have the most difficulty in. Passive behavior, effort, my favorite, disruption, defiance, tantrums, bullying, and aggression. So I spoke to Ms. Riles at the elementary school, and I said, from your PBIS data and from your log entries from the behavior that happens in your school, what are the top behaviors? She said aggression, disruption, and defiance. So we're going to be working with our teachers to really address those particular issues in the school, but at the same time, if things come up related to passive behavior or lack of effort, a kid just sitting in class all day doing nothing, not putting forth an effort, what does the teacher do? Well, we get frustrated. We get frustrated because we want the kid to learn, but there may be something else going on. So this program allows us to actually have a system that we can implement with that student. And if the student's having difficulty with aggression, this workbook becomes that student's workbook. So we're able to work with that student with the interventions, very straightforward about what the teacher's supposed to do, what's expected of the student, and then we move forward. The great thing about this is that we have a plan now. In the past, we didn't have a plan. And so I'm looking forward to working with our teachers with this particular program. At our other schools, one of the things that we've always had problems when it came to behavior is how do we document the behavior? So what I'm doing is taking all of our parapros, giving them the opportunity to be trained as registered behavior technicians. What does that mean? That means we're going to have behavior specialists in all of our schools who are going to be trained and licensed. There's a national license that they have, they're going to get. It's going to be 2 hours a day, 1 day a week, probably now until the end of March. They need 40 hours of instruction from a behavior analyst that they're going to receive that we're going to pay for through the program. Again, just setting our system up to be more successful with the things that we're doing, and then providing teachers with more tools that they can utilize as they work with our students. So again, this is a process that will be starting very soon. On the 21st, we're going to be implementing it and getting the training, and then over the next course of the next year, I will be updating you all on the progress that we're making with the program, okay? So we're starting ground one, baseline, we've targeted behaviors, and now we're going to focus on what do we do moving forward, and is the program working? If the program's working, we're going to make sure it's being utilized system-wide, okay? Any questions?
Thank you,
Does
Ms.
the-
McNair.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Steve?
So, how many folks will be in the class? Will the whole system get the training at the same time, or?
What we're doing is it's a train-the-trainer module. Because we're very limited in the substitute teachers, we're going to be training the grade level teachers at the elementary school. They're going to re-deliver it back to their grade levels. But the great thing about it is Dr. Wright, who's working with us, he's going to provide virtual training at least twice a month, where grade levels can meet with him virtually after the physical training on the 21st and have questions answered. And that's going to be a good thing, because now teachers are working with kids and addressing the behavior, but I know I have some support. One of the greatest problems with training is that you get trained and then there's a lack of support, the follow-up to help you become more confident in what you're doing. Well, he's going to be with us for the entire year. So we have that level of training. And for our registered behavior technicians, our teachers who are the parapros and teachers that want that training, we're going to have a behavior analyst working with them too. So not only is she going to be giving them the 40 hours of classroom instruction, She's going to get them prepared to take the national exam. It's going to be a game changer once these people are in place at our schools, and I'm excited. It's kind of bad that we're having to spend the money, but you know what? You look at the gold piece and all of the things that we're doing, and I think we're going to be moving in the right direction. Again, I'm going to update you pretty regularly on our status and where we are. And if you have questions about anything, please reach out and let me know. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it very much. All right. Next item up here, unfortunately, I have to mention this. Item 6 is a need to increase the adult breakfast and adult lunch prices. And so just so for clarification purposes, we don't get any funding from the state or otherwise for the adult meals. So when we produce that, we have to calculate it, we have to make sure that everything's done, and so that we're not providing a free meal or providing a meal that's subsidized in some manner. So after calculating and came up throughout this process of our audit, when doing the calculations, determined that we weren't charging enough for the breakfast and we weren't charging enough for the lunch to actually compensate based on the amount of food and the preparation, et cetera, goes into it. So in order to break even, we don't make any money off of this, we need to increase our breakfast from $2 to $3 and our lunch from $3.50 to $3.75. This would take effective the 1st of January of 2022. So I would ask that the board vote on that. It doesn't have to be tonight, it could be at the next meeting. Any questions on that at all? And I would tell you that I eat in at least one of the lunchrooms every week, and so and sometimes every day. I'll eat at one or the other. I want to make sure that I experience what students eat, and I also know that that meal, what you get for that $3.75, you can't beat it in town, okay? So again, it's very cost effective. So that, I know there'll be some concern about the increase, but it's needed. All right, next item up here is kind of goes along lines with our nutrition audit. We have a policy, wellness policy, EEE. It's something that we have a responsibility every 3 years to review. We have reviewed it, and I just want to throw this particular policy out there for you all to take a look at. It is still a work in progress, but it's the start of one. So there's an awful lot of information there. We're going to meet again and again, so I'm not asking for us to put it on the table yet, but you can start looking at some of the things that we're doing. The current policy is like a page and a half. This is far more detailed and meets the intent of the federal guidelines. And so as we get done with all of the meetings that we have to have in the committees, we'll move to update this one. But I will say this, there's an EED policy, if you have the opportunity to pull that up, if it's down there. Yeah. This policy is a little antiquated, and it really, to be honest, doesn't quite make a total sense with what we're doing. But it's already included in EEE presently, so I will ask that when we do vote on the other one, we'll move to rescind this particular one. That everything that's in there is already included in our other policy. All right, and so any questions at all based on where we're going with these two policies? All right, next item up there is our discussion of any minutes. Minutes have been provided. If you would take a look at those, get with Ms. Lane or myself if you believe we have to make any changes to it, so that we can make those changes relatively quickly, because our next board meeting is Thursday. If I could ask Ms. Franklin to go over the September financial report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Turn to page 1. Okay, this is the general operating account for September 30th, 2021. We began the month with just a little over $2 million. We had receipts of $1.2 million, and we had disbursements of just a little over $2 million, leaving us with an ending balance on September 30th of $1.25 million in the general operating account. Next, page 25. General fund revenues. The school year already 25% complete. We have had 1.1 million in general fund revenues, which is 7.84% of our budgeted 14.5 million in general fund revenues. Expenditures for the general fund, period to date expenditures is 2.49 million, which is right at 17% of the budgeted 14.65 million in general fund expenditures. And on to fund balance, page 32. The ending fund balance for September 30th is just over $1 million in the general fund. And then on to school nutrition, page 102. School nutrition bank account has $60,619. Page 110. East Plus projects account has $483. Page 112. The local projects account, we have, well, I guess I should say, we transferred during the month, we transferred $111,066 to the 2016 bond sinking account, and we transferred $240,000 to the debt service account out of the local projects account, leaving us with just over $1 million in the local projects account. And page 114 is the 2016 bond sinking account. We transferred in $500,000 from the general operating account, and then the $111,066 from the local projects account, leaving us with $611,073 on September 30th, and our bond payment was made on October the 1st. And debt service account, we began the month with 1.5 million. We had September East Blast receipts of $133,696, and that was a 19.9% increase over September of 2020.
Good deal.
It's huge.
And we had a transfer in from the local projects account of the $240,000, leaving us with $1.9 million, just over $1.9 million in the debt service account. And finally, the energy efficiency lease, we began the month with $500,619. We made the energy lease payment of $498,407, leaving us with $2,220. Are there any questions?
I have none.
Thank you,
Ms.
Ms.
Taylor.
Franklin.
Thank you.
Next area up here, if I could ask Mr. Massa to come up.
Great evening, Board. It's a pleasure to stand before you and give you an update on some facilities projects that we have going on. Number one is painting the classrooms at MCA. I'm really excited about this project because it continues on our renovation almost of the high school. We've painted everything outside. Now we're starting on the 500 hall. Over the break, starting on Friday night, they'll be moving everything to the middle of the classrooms. On Saturday, the painting company will be prepping the walls, and throughout the week, they'll get the whole 500 hall done. It's a great time to have this break. They've already moved the classes for the intercession, so everything's coordinated, and we're right on schedule. Again, we'll move to the next hallway. I think it's 300 hall. Over the next break, possibly Thanksgiving, and we'll have a really beautiful interior of McIntosh County Academy updated and on our 5-year plan. So that's really exciting that we're planning for this, and we have a good plan moving forward. Next item is the dredging of the pond next to the MCA football field. We've already had a company come in and give us an excellent proposal on exactly what we needed to do to make that pond area not only beautiful but safe and bug-free, and not be such a swamp area, that we can make that a beautiful place to view and be something that's safe for our school. Mr. Riles has coordinated with a couple different dredging companies. The company that came out from Brunswick that gave us an estimate, they proposed, said, we have dredging equipment, but it would be best for you to go out on your own. We'd get a much better deal. And under the guise of making sure that we are physically responsible, he's got a couple quotes, so that's coming. That project is well on the way. We haven't finalized the dredging, but that's the next step on there.
So you say go out on our own?
Meaning that they could have come in and they gave us a bid on dredging it, putting, doing the cleaning of the weeds, putting carp in there, doing the whole project. However, they said that the dredging of it with their equipment was specialized, that it was a really huge number, that we could get somebody with their own excavator and excavate it out. Because it has to be a little deeper and the sides built up and some of that area cleaned up, and we can get it a lot cheaper than what, and that was their recommendation. I was really happy that they were upfront and honest and said, well, but they're going to do the rest of it with the pond management and the giving us the guidance on how to make it really
You
sharp.
gave us some good ideas too, as far as what to do with it, like putting the carp in there to eat the algae and keep that maintained. And there's some really good suggestions. And he did it basically just to say, here's what we do for a living. We're going to give you our advice. We want to sell you the fountain, obviously, but the rest of it, you could probably get a much better deal on it.
Right.
The next item of business is the refreshing of the basketball court at MCA. As you know, every year we have our basketball court lightly sanded, all the wax stripped off, and it's done every year. But over the time, what that does is it fades the lines. And not only that, it's been never restriped and redone. We still have the Kinder Morgan sign on our basketball court, and that's from years and years ago. So as we move forward, possibly this summer, we will be proposing for a deeper sanding where we sand it all the way down and then have an opportunity to put our fresh logo on there, have it done to our taste for the current situation. So that's on the agenda. On November 1st, they'll do the regular maintenance that has to be done before basketball season. That is the yearly, but this summer we're planning on a possible deeper dive into that and make our basketball court and our athletic complex even that much better.
When you stand at the court and you look down and I'll make no bones, I'm colorblind, okay? So, but I asked Mr. Willis, I said, what color is the border around it? Which the border is about all the way around it. And he said, what border? That's how thin this thing has turned out over the years. So you can't see it, but it's part of that requirement that you have that buffer. And so we want to make it look good.
And the updating of our logo and everything will be a real opportunity to spruce it up. The next item of business is the clearing of the trees next to MCA. We have coordinated with the county or with the city and the county there where exactly we can put 2 culverts in for the roads for the trucking crew to come in. That's in the works. Mr. Riles has gotten a price on the culvert and is working on having those roads cut in so that we can come in and out of the facility with the logging. So we're hoping that project will be in full swing in the next month or so. I've already been in touch with the logger, and he's on board. Everything's in order. They're waiting on us for the roads, and as soon as we can get that cut in, that project will come underway. It'll be a really nice, dramatic change to the whole outlook. When you look behind that baseball field, it's going to be clear. We're going to see something we haven't seen, and it's going to be good. I think that it's going to look good, and then the planting of new trees after that is going to be a great project that possibly our forestry class could take on.
How many acres is there, Mr. Moss?
Well, there's a 10-acre plot that's near the interstate there. It's about 10 acres that we have. And then the plot behind the high school is probably about 4 or 5 acres that goes around all the way behind there.
So we're going to cut that 10 acres there by the overpass?
Yes, sir.
Correct? Okay.
Right.
Yes, sir. And again, I'll just remind you that it's well overdue that the trees are deteriorating at this point, that every year we wait from this point on, it just gets less and less. They're just too close together and they're not able to thrive at this point. So it's a good move for us. The next area of business is the kitchen AC unit at Todd Grant Elementary. When we built Todd Grant Elementary, for whatever reason, no hindsight's 2020, there wasn't a AC return unit that goes on top of the vents that pull the air out of the kitchen. There's huge fans up there that pull out all the air from the heat and the air and pull in air. So they go both ways. And typically on those units, there'll be an AC vent. Right now, it's at times in the heat of the summer, that building can be 100 and change degrees in there. And if you can imagine, if you've got ovens on, you've got cooking going on, how hot it could be. So we've obtained a quote for an AC unit that goes specifically on this vent. It's a specialty unit, and unfortunately, due to COVID and the restrictions that are happening out there, that the prices are pretty, they're a little more than they were a year ago. However, I think it's a really good investment of approximately $80,000 to put our cafeteria workers in a position where they can actually work, because it's very, very hot in there.
It's important to note that the other two schools have this type of unit in there, but if you walk into the kitchen during the summertime, and it lasts from May on through September, it's almost unbearable when they have those stoves going. And so again, it appears to be a lot of money, but you do have employees in there under those conditions that we need to take a good look. And we do believe that we can use federal money to upgrade that.
Absolutely. I think that it's going to be a game changer for them in there, and just a better situation for our employees. The last area of business is the window tinting. Now, this window tinting, we've been talking about our foyers, and especially at the high school. At one point we had a plan on possibly building a wall behind there to block off there, and possibly in the future we could continue looking at that. But a recommendation from our local sheriff's department, and after doing some research that's happening around the country, is to put one-way tinting on there where you can see out, but a would-be intruder can't see in. So I wrote a little grant from GSBA, and possibly we'll get that grant. However, if that doesn't come through, I think that it's a smart decision for us to have this glass put in there. And in the grant, it says it's a simple premise that you're less likely to shoot what you can't see. And on top of that, there's a couple other advantages. That this window tinting will stop from shattered glass, from possible storms, vandalism, things that happen that could shatter glass that aren't necessarily, a police or a physical harm, but natural events do shatter glass, and the glass is then contained and it won't shatter all over the place. Not only that, it is an energy savings. It reflects the heat. It's just got a lot of benefits, and I think it's going to look sharp. When you drive by, you'll be able to see your cars. Everything's going to be good, but yet we'll be able to see out of it, and that's important, that we're able to add that layer of protection, that nobody's just peeping in there what's going on in there with all the kids. They don't know how many are in there, and I think it's a real smart decision. Again, our local sheriff's department suggested it. The research from Sandy Hook on, this is a common practice that's happening, and we're looking at.
We have reviewed our safety plans and continue to do so, because of, we want to make sure it's just not something that's thrown on the shelf to collect dust. But if you look at the news over the last probably 3 weeks, I think there's been at least 2 shootings that have taken place at schools. There was a stabbing of a bus driver, and then there was a actual plan discovered to replicate Columbine on the 25th anniversary. For anyone to say that won't happen here, I hate to use those terms, but you have to be prepared. And so we believe it's important just to make sure we're taking every measure we can to protect our staff, faculty, and students. And these little extra measures do make a little difference.
Will this be at all the schools or just the high school?
Yes, at the high school, the elementary, and the middle school. On 2 sites in the middle school, we've got a quote for doing right at the front office and at the gym entrance area. course, the high school at the very front and the back, and then Todd Grant's main section right there. Again, I think it's going to look sharp, and it's smart. It's smart planning.
What would you do? Let's say, for instance, the doors that look down the hall. Okay, that glass would be replaced as well?
Well, again, it's not replacing the glass. This is
It's tint.
A tint.
It's like on the car.
Exactly. But
Okay,
it's
okay.
a one-way tint that it's reflective.
Gotcha.
You
You
can't
got it
see
right
through
there.
it this
Gotcha.
way. However,
You were saying glass, and I'm like, wow, so we're replacing the glass?
You can see it's going to look like this, but
Gotcha.
again, on the other side, you can see right
So it'll be all the way around the school.
Let me make sure
Strategic
I explain it. The key spots, the front of the high school, that front vestibule, that right there, and then the back doors. We hadn't planned for the two doors looking down the hallway.
Right.
We're just looking at the main sections. The middle school, the gym, and the front office. Todd Grant right here at that vestibule to start. Now, if we, it's not something that we can't expand upon, but
Right.
we're going to get a good start by doing that.
Okay.
Any other questions about my agenda items? Thank you, Board. I appreciate it.
Busy.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next item, stay right there, is the COVID update. So every day we track this. Sylvia does a great job keeping up with the numbers. We're starting to report this on our website every day. And so if you look at this particular one, it's a staff testing positive number. And right now we're at zero staff having been reported as positive. If you go to the student count, and right now we're tracking 2 students total that have reported a positive result from COVID. So when you look at overall numbers, the 156 students have tested positive. We had 50-something all of last year, so we're already at over 3 times that amount during a very short period of time. But at the same time, you look to say that across the country that we're seeing a decline in this Delta variant. Any questions on the COVID?
Are we maybe looking to get rid of face mask in the school?
It's tough, and I will tell you, Mr. Bottom line that we look at it right now, I'd like to see the numbers steady for a little while before I even make a recommendation to do so. And the only thing they're wearing them for right now is transitions. And
right.
so parents can still, direct their child to wear them in the classroom. And so for very limited times during transition, 3 to 5 minutes, I don't think that's too much to ask of everybody, and they're wearing them on the buses. I know that other systems have a different way of doing their masks, and some of them went completely off. But already some of those numbers are creeping up. So I kind of equate it to a cake. When you start taking ingredients out, you never know what you're going to get. So I feel very comfortable right now saying let's stay the course for a little bit while longer. Especially when we know that Mu variant, we don't know what's going to happen with that. We need to kind of see what's going to happen. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, next one up here under goal area 4 is quality workforce. And so what I'm asking the board to do is to rescind board policy GAE1, which is the discrimination complaint, because in October we actually approved GAAA, which is an equal opportunity employment, which provides your complaint procedures in there. So we don't need 2 policies, especially when the GAAA is the most up-to-date one. It causes confusion, so we need to rescind that other policy. And we could vote on that at the next board meeting if y'all take a look, but you'll see that they're almost identical with exception of the updated information in the number. Any questions on that policy? No. All right. I would ask if we can go down to goal area 4 real quick before we get into the personnel. Obviously, we had a great homecoming event. Unfortunately, we didn't come out on the winning side Friday night, but I think the boys played hard. Great attendance at homecoming. The ceremony was great, and so the next event that's coming up of significance will be senior night on the 22nd of October. I'd love to have you out there. that same night as senior night, it's going to be a pink out night in recognition of our efforts to band together in our fight against breast cancer. So ask if there are shirts being sold at the high school and otherwise, but if you wear pink or something pink in support of that, I think it would go a long ways in representing a great school system that's cohesively together on this. It goes along the line with the third bullet there, which is that Ms. Tina is working to coordinate for the mammogram unit to come here the 7th of December, and they're looking to open this up county-wide, community-wide, that any individual who comes and signs up and wants to have their mammogram test done, that we'll do it right here in a central location to make it convenient for our teachers as well as any of the community members. And they only need 12 in order to make sure that it's viable to bring the bus in. So they couldn't get it in October during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but December will work for us. Any questions on any of that? Well, Madam Chair, I would ask if we would go into executive session for personnel and legal.
Okay. Could I have a motion to go to executive session for personnel and legal?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hewitt, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Straggles. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 4-0. We'll be back. Personnel tonight or Thursday? Okay, McIntosh County Board of Education adjourned to executive session to discuss legal and personnel issues. Could I have a motion to return to open session?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. McDonald, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hewitt. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Comments?
Just glad we're here and we're going along without COVID strong.
Glad to be here. Happy to see things going as well as they are.
Give a shout out to our teachers, doing a super job, as always.
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you do. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you to everyone for everything you do.
I would just like to say thank you to the city for quickly resolving the water problem today, and I think the schools responded accordingly. And so, it's not something you want to experience, but they did a good job of making it through and make sure we didn't have any incidences at our schools today. So I'm extremely happy that our numbers are down on COVID, and I hope that we can continue that trend. And I agree with Ms. Hewlett, our teachers are doing fantastic jobs right now. We're going to keep that up.
Yep, I know they will.
Richie, you have anything? All right, we're adjourned.